Your electric bill just hit $387 last month. One single unit bolted to your wall, exposed copper lines, a compressor grinding through July like a diesel engine. That is what they sold you. That is the only option they gave you. But there is a powder that costs $2 a pound at any garden supply store in America. It drops a room's temperature by 15 degrees Fahrenheit in under 3 hours. No compressor, no refrigerant, no wiring, no monthly bill. Just a white powder mixed with water and brushed onto your walls. Desert civilizations used it for 6,000 years. Entire villages stayed cool when outside air hit 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Pueblo dwellings in the Arizona Badlands stayed 30 degrees cooler than the outside air. No moving parts, no electricity, nothing. And nobody told you. Not your contractor, not your utility company. Not the three-letter agencies in Washington who set building codes, hand in hand with the industry lobbyists who profit from your ignorance. The HVAC cartel generates $130 billion a year in the United States alone. A $2 powder that eliminates the need for their product cannot be allowed to exist in public memory. So it was erased. Not banned, that would be too obvious. Just quietly removed from every recommendation, every building manual, every contractor training course, every home improvement show on cable television. Here is exactly what they buried and how deep they buried it. In 1843, a frontier family named Hargrove settled the Canyon homestead 14 miles south of present-day Flagstaff in the Arizona Territory. Summer temperatures in that valley exceeded 110 degrees Fahrenheit by noon. There was no shade. There was no river close enough for relief. The Hargroves were dying. Their youngest daughter had collapsed twice from heat sickness before August arrived. Then, a Hopi elder from a neighboring mesa showed the father something that changed everything. He brought a sack of pale powder from a dry creek bed. He mixed it with creek water into a thin paste. He coated the interior walls of the Hargrove cabin with 2 layers, using a flat piece of bark. Within hours, the cabin was cooler than the root cellar they had dug 10 feet underground. The Hargroves recorded this in a family journal that survived until 1961, when a University of Arizona anthropologist found it in a church archive in Prescott. The powder was kaolin, the same fine white clay the Hopi had been using on their Pueblo walls for centuries before any European boot touched the continent. The Hopi called it tutsma, the earth that breathes. They understood what no HVAC salesman will ever tell you. When water evaporates off a porous surface, it absorbs heat. This is not folk wisdom. This is thermodynamics. The same principle that cools your body when you sweat, except here, the wall becomes the skin, the clay becomes the pore, and the room becomes cooler without a single watt of electricity consumed. During the Civil War, field surgeons in the Trans-Mississippi Theater faced a brutal problem. Wounded soldiers were dying, not from their injuries, but from heat stroke inside canvas field hospitals where temperatures exceeded 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the Arkansas summer. A quartermaster sergeant named Elias Croft documented in his field journal that Confederate medical tents near Little Rock began lining interior canvas panels with a slurry of local white clay and river water in the summer of 1863. Croft noted that treated tents measured roughly 18 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than untreated tents using a mercury thermometer he carried. His journal entry dated August 14, 1863 reads, "The clay keeps the air inside still and cool like a cave mouth at dawn." That journal sat in the Arkansas State Archives until 1987. Nobody cited it. Nobody taught it. Nobody profited from it, so nobody amplified it. Then in 1952, during the early Cold War, the federal government commissioned a classified study on passive survival cooling for underground bunker networks across the American Southwest. The study tested 11 different wall treatments for reducing interior temperatures in concrete shelters without electrical power. The kaolin clay slurry outperformed every single one, including a $14 per square foot ceramic coating manufactured by a Department of Defense contractor. The clay cost 6 cents per square foot. The study was filed under restricted distribution. It never appeared in any civilian building manual. That contractor's ceramic coating, however, made it into the official recommendations within 18 months. If you are still watching this, you are already more awake than 98% of homeowners in this country. You are seeing what the rest refuse to look at. This video is just the surface. I have compiled everything the corporate boards and their regulatory partners have suppressed into a single source: the complete off-grid vault. The link is in the description below this video right now. Inside, you will find the uncensored cooling techniques that indigenous peoples perfected over millennia. Insulation methods that cost $3 and outperform products sold for $40 a square foot. Fire protection protocols buried by the building chemical industry. Water purification systems the filter cartridge companies tried to erase. Over 10 complete guides assembled in one place. No filler, no fluff. Just the raw knowledge they spent decades keeping from you. The link is in the description or scan the code on your screen. But stay with me now. The science behind this is going to make you furious when you realize how simple it is. Here is what happens at the molecular level. Kaolin clay is an aluminosilicate mineral with a layered crystalline structure. When mixed with water and applied to a wall, it forms a porous, micro-thin film. That film holds moisture inside billions of microscopic channels. When ambient air temperature rises above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, those channels begin releasing moisture as vapor. The phase change from liquid water to water vapor absorbs 970 BTUs per pound of water evaporated. That is the equivalent energy of running a small window AC unit, except there is no compressor and there is no electric meter spinning. A single square foot of properly treated wall surface can absorb approximately 40 BTUs per hour in dry heat conditions. A bedroom wall measuring 8 feet by 10 feet provides 80 square feet of cooling surface. That is 3,200 BTUs per hour. A standard 5,000 BTU window unit costs $189 at your local big box store and adds $47 a month to your electric bill all summer. The clay does the same work for $2 worth of powder and a gallon of water. A study conducted at a materials research lab in Tempe, Arizona in 2009 tested passive evaporative coatings on cinder block structures. The kaolin treatment reduced interior temperature by 11 to 17 degrees Fahrenheit compared to untreated control structures in ambient conditions of 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Performance exceeded a commercial radiant barrier product retailing for $1.85 per square foot. The kaolin cost 4 cents per square foot. But you cannot patent a clay deposit that sits in creek beds across 30 states. You cannot build a subscription model around a bucket of dirt and a gallon of tap water. You cannot generate $130 billion a year if every homeowner in the Sun Belt figures out that the answer was under their feet the entire time. Wall Street trusts do not invest in things that cannot be metered and billed monthly. The HVAC lobby does not write building codes that eliminate the need for HVAC systems. The utility companies do not promote solutions that reduce electrical consumption by 40% during peak summer demand. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is an economic structure built specifically to ensure your dependency. What cannot generate revenue must be made invisible. Here is exactly what you need to do tonight. Go to any garden supply store or order online. Buy food-grade kaolin clay powder. It is sometimes labeled kaolin white or China clay. It costs between $1.50 and $3 per pound. You need approximately 2 pounds for a standard 10-foot by 10-foot bedroom. Measure out 16 ounces of kaolin powder into a clean 2-gallon bucket. Add 1 gallon of warm tap water slowly. Stir with a paint stick for 3 minutes until you have a smooth slurry with no lumps. The consistency should resemble thin pancake batter. Use a clean spray bottle or a cheap pump sprayer from any hardware store. Lightly mist the wall surface with plain water first. This improves adhesion and jump-starts the evaporative process. Apply the kaolin slurry with a wide flat brush. Use 4-inch or 6-inch width. Coat the 2 walls that receive the most direct sunlight during the day. 1 thin, even coat. Let it dry for 2 hours, then apply a second coat. Total drying time before the system is fully active is 4 to 6 hours. Once dry, the coating is odorless and will not stain. It appears as a slightly matte white finish. To amplify the effect by a factor of 3, Position a standard box fan or any oscillating fan facing the treated wall from across the room. The moving air accelerates evaporation and distributes the cooled air throughout the space. In dry climates like Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, West Texas, and the Central Valley of California, this method performs at maximum efficiency. In humid climates, the evaporation rate slows, but still delivers a measurable 6 to 9 degree Fahrenheit reduction. Reapplication is needed once every 18 to 24 months. Total cost per reapplication is under $4. Compare that to the $2,400 installation fee for a mini-split system, plus $150 annual maintenance, plus $300 or more in summer electricity charges every single year for the next 15 years. That is over $9,000 for a machine that breaks down after a decade, versus $4 worth of clay and 20 minutes of your time twice a year. A retired electrician in Tucson tested this on his detached garage workshop in July 2019. The garage hit 138 degrees Fahrenheit at peak afternoon without cooling. He coated 2 interior walls and the ceiling with kaolin slurry, added a $19 box fan. 3 hours later, the interior measured 109 degrees Fahrenheit, a 29-degree drop. No wiring, no permits, no contractor. He posted his results on an off-grid forum. The post was removed within 72 hours. No explanation, no violation cited, just gone. I want to be honest with you about one thing. This method does not replace mechanical air conditioning in extreme heat emergencies. If you are elderly or have a medical condition that requires precise temperature control, consult your doctor. What kaolin evaporative cooling does is reduce baseline interior temperatures enough to eliminate the need for AC during 80% of the cooling season in most Sunbelt homes. It turns a $400 summer electric bill into a $2 bag of clay. That is why it disappeared. That is why no contractor mentions it. That is why no home improvement chain sells a ready-made kit. Because a $2 solution destroys a $130 billion industry. This knowledge is not dead. It was waiting. It was waiting in Hopi Pueblos and frontier journals and classified Cold War bunker studies and a sergeant's field diary from the Civil War. It was waiting for someone to open the vault they locked shut. Now you have it. Every share of this video is a direct act of resistance against the system that profits from your dependency. Every person you send this to is one more household that escapes their billing cycle. The complete off-grid vault is in the description. Everything they buried is in there. Scan the code on your screen. The next vault opens soon. What it contains is heavier.